Thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. In an Atlantic barrage pattern, we do have a window of spring-like warmth this afternoon across the board. Temperatures rose into the teens quite widely up and down the land today. And this is the current pressure chart. You can see why, in a sense, the temperatures have jumped up locally as high as 16 Celsius in the far north of Scotland. Unofficial readings, that is, anyway, but nonetheless pretty reliable as well. So you can see here that we've got an area of low pressure that's deepening to the west of the British Isles. We've got southwesterly winds, we've got sunshine, and we have got some pretty gusty winds as well. This is off the Meteosail website. You can see here that we've got some fairly brisk southwesterly winds. This, of course, in kilometres per hour. But we are going to see winds increase, the rain moving in from the west over the next several hours, and we're going to have quite a different night than what we've got certainly this afternoon. So these are the current temperatures as of recording at 10 to 4 in the afternoon. You can see here that we've got temperatures 15, 16 Celsius down in parts of East Anglia. We've also got 14 Celsius up in the Tane range, which is just to the north of myself. We've got a 14 at Inverness, Dalcross, a little bit fresher, as you can see here, at Loch Liscarnock, which of course is some 200 plus metres above sea level. But a very, very mild day across the board, as you can see. Big difference to what was seen back earlier in the month, of course. And my personal weather station in the back garden did top out at 14.5 Celsius. It dropped down to 13.1 now, but with a stiff southwesterly wind, and we've seen the temperatures as high as 14.5. That's the highest the weather station has recorded thus far. It did go live on the 8th of January, and like I say, the warmest temperatures recorded thus far. But you can see here that we do have a lot of wet weather now moving in across Ireland, and that will continue to spread east and northwards as we progress into the overnight period tonight. And then it's all eyes on the winds as they pick up. They continue to pick up. This area of low pressure well to the west of the British Isles, as you can see here. There's the leading frontal system with all the moisture piling in. That's going to increase rain totals that have already been significant this year so far. Do check out yesterday's video and the previous few videos. I also talk about the potential of colder conditions building in during the course of this upcoming weekend and then early next week. And I'll also look in a wee bit more detail at the month of April also, which I do think is going to have ups and downs in terms of temperature. But we are in a mild slot at the moment. The average for the month is starting to close in on average, especially across more southern portions of the UK. Still firmly below average across the far north of the UK. It'll be interesting to see how much this current surge of mild conditions chips away at that average temperature for the month of March overall. But as we progress through the next several hours, what we're going to see is the main frontal system moving in, as you can see here off the GFS model. So a thoroughly wet night to come for a period of several hours. But one thing I think is going to be the most notable is going to be the squeeze in the isobars, indicating that we are going to start to see gales developing across many portions of exposed areas of England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. And it's actually not so much this area of low pressure, but it's this feature here just off the Outer Hebrides that is going to be, has forced the Met Office to issue a yellow wind warning for parts of Highland and the West Coast, Outer Hebrides, through the overnight period of night. We may see winds in excess of 50 miles per hour, quite widely, 70, 75 miles per hour in exposure. So, we're back to having wind and indeed rain across the northern half of the British Isles. We have, of course, seen plenty of rain, but we haven't seen in the last wee while anyway some fairly strong winds. Notice here that precipitation is changing over to snowfall as we progress into the day tomorrow. So the 14s, 15s, even 16s of today will be a distant memory over the next few days as cooler air, not cold as such, but cooler air starts to become entrained in the flow as these areas of low pressure pull in something a little bit colder, tapping air from further north, that air mass is rotating around these circulations and getting dragged underneath into the British Isles, and that means we're starting to see the temperatures trim back somewhat. But you can see here that we've got plenty of showers all piling in after the main frontal system moves right the way across the British Isles through the course of tonight and early tomorrow morning. We will be we'll find ourselves in a legacy of blustery showers through the course of Wednesday, as you can see here. And then we've got more systems. We need to keep an eye on this little feature here that is seen by the model developing. That may start to increase winds, especially through the channel to gale force, and also a spell of heavy rainfall. Also, we're keeping an eye on this feature that's going to circulating to the west of the British Isles, spinning around in place almost. That feature looks as if it will eventually make inroads across the British Isles as we progress towards the latter half of the week. But with a slightly further south track, a little bit of colder air starting to wrap around that feature. It's once that exits to the east, we open the door to something a little bit colder with the rain snow level starting to drop. We've got another feature dropping into France, as you can see here. So it looks as if we do have some change coming up as we progress towards the upcoming weekend here. But plenty more wind and rain with a slight drop in temperature over the next 24 hours. This is the peak wind gust of the GFS model, and you can see here that we do have some very strong winds through the Irish Sea during the early hours of tomorrow morning. And then, of course, it's on the southern flank of this centre of low pressure that we see the strongest winds transfer from through the channel, parts of England, Wales and Ireland. And the focus is going to be up towards the Highlands of Scotland, where we could see a spell of particularly strong winds, and even some strong winds blowing off the mountains and right along the A9 section of the coastline between Caithness and Sutherland. As you can see here, we may see some very strong winds crossing over the North Highlands here, and that could cause some issues with regards to high-sided vehicles, perhaps into the first half of tomorrow. But you can see here that we do have windy conditions continuing through the course of this week as more areas of low pressure move through. You notice here that we've got these enhanced winds through the channel and squeezed between East Anglia and the Netherlands here. That's that area of low pressure the model is seeing developing here. So we need to, like I say, we need to keep an eye on that. That could have impacts on the shipping situation through the Dover Straits and the English Channel overall. Plenty of rain over the next couple of weeks, really. We're not seeing any great change in this rather wet pattern. Complete flip around from the month of February, of course. This will wind up actually a very wet month indeed if we play right the way through the loop here. So this is a total accumulated precipitation of the GFS right the way through the remainder of the month. Notice the rain shadow though. Eastern side of Scotland and England has a lot less rain than the west, so it shows you where the wind's coming from. It's basically coming straight out of the west over the next week to 10 days in the means. So therefore we've got the rain shadow effect anywhere from Caithness all the way down to Kent. But get yourself into the upslopes of Western Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, England and Wales. We could see the rain totals really, really prop up actually. And you can see here as we progress towards the end of the month, we'll have some very significant rains seen by the model in excess of 200 millimeters of rain. So on top of the fact that we've already seen a month's worth of rain in some parts of the UK, this could wind up being a very, very wet month indeed for the British Isles here. But like I say, turning chillier as we progress towards the upcoming weekend, it looks like, seen by the models. So keep it right here on my YouTube channel. Daily videos. I am, trying to show you something a little bit different day by day rather than the same thing. So do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. If you were thinking about maybe unsubscribing because winter's over, there's a lot of reason to stay right here in the channel. I'm trying to show you a lot of different things with regards to the big picture, the global picture. We've got the global weather and climate report, of course, every Sunday, looking at the global extremes, both in terms of weather as well as climate. We're going to be looking at global sea surface temperature and also the global temperature overall, the potential of an El Nino developing as we progress towards the latter half of the spring and into the summer, what impacts that may have on the global temperature, what impacts it may have on Europe and the UK and Ireland as well. So there's plenty of reason to stick it right here on my channel. I do encourage you to do so. I appreciate your view each and every day, and stay tuned. I'll hopefully be back again tomorrow with more. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. Bye for now.